Hey, it's lyla.mev the Mini Witch. In this video, we're going to see how far I can get in 20 minutes, 40 minutes, and 60 minutes worth of painting. I, like many of you, often underestimate the amount of time that it's going to take me to accomplish a project. And I thought creating a time challenge to see my speed and progress would be an interesting exercise for me as a painter and for you as a viewer. Here are the rules. Number 1. We're going to see how far I can get in 20, 40, and 60 minutes. Now, at each break time, I should have a completed model. So I'm not going to spend the first 20 minutes working on the face, the second 20 minutes working on the skin and clothing, etc., etc. At each point, it should be far enough along for me to call it done for that amount of time. 2. This is probably not the best model to do for this project. You would be far better off using a monster or a bust or something that is very large and very simple. However, I don't like to do things the easy way, so we're going to do it the hard way instead. 3. I've already done my zenithal highlighting, mold line removal, and have taken the time to at least consider the colors that I'm going to use. I have not done a digital mock-up like I frequently do, but I'm not going to count the amount of time that it has taken me to make my game plan against my hour of painting. 4. Like and subscribe, and do your own speed painting challenge here on YouTube or on Instagram utilizing the hashtag SpeedPaintChallenge. Alright, let's get into this. Pulling out my favorite brushes, and I'm going to start the timer. First I'm going to start my music, and then I'll start my timer. Alright, so typically I start with a base of midtones and then highlighting and shading up from there. But for this project, I'm going to be making those types of decisions on the fly, though I do foresee a lot of wet blending in my future. Step 1 is deciding where I want to focus the majority of my time. What is going to be the most important element of this model? For the beginning, I'm going to be focusing on the dress because the dress is the largest part of the model. I'm starting by placing my shadow in several locations, then cleaning my brush and applying my secondary color. Working in this way allows me to work faster because I don't need to clean my brush in between each stage of blending. However, I do need to work more quickly because I need to make sure I have time to wet blend out my first color before all of the areas begin to dry. And now I'm realizing that this blue was actually so transparent that I can literally just paint over my zenithal highlights and I really don't need to wet blend at all. I'm imagining that the cape is going to be a rougher material, so I'm not worrying about blending nearly as much as the dress. It is by far faster to paint rougher material than it is to get the perfect smooth blends of silk or taffeta. But most importantly is completing your miniature in your time allotted. I've got so much time left! Now that I have at least paint over the majority of the model, I'm going to go in and focus more on the dress. I am applying more highlights to the dress and feathering out my edges. However, you absolutely don't want to do it this way. I am feathering out lighter colors onto darker colors, and you actually want to do it the opposite direction of feathering out darker colors over lighter colors, because feathering out lighter colors can lead to chalkiness and texture like you are seeing right here. But I'll clean that up later. Alright, we're 20 minutes in. How do I think we're doing? I think it's going okay. My first 20 minutes was getting down base colors, building my larger highlights, but I think I can still make this into something I'll be happy with. Is she going to be perfect? Certainly not, but I think I can still make it work. So from here, it's going to be continuing to build up my layers, adding more contrast, as well as smoothing out some of the rougher areas that I had applied my first round. But alright, let's get into it. Though washes aren't usually my thing, they do have their place in speed painting. And now that I do have my base layers done, it's time to go in and add in details like the face and eyes, as well as adding brighter highlights to the dress. So beyond a few quick tips and a fun video challenge, what is the point of this video? My goal is to show you that it takes a decent amount of time to paint a miniature. It can seem overwhelming when people are posting these gorgeous photos on Instagram or even videos on YouTube, but rarely do they show the amount of time that goes into painting these projects. I am working at a breakneck pace and I'm still not getting as far as I want. But the best way to get better at painting is to do it, and if speed painting is your goal, learn the tricks firsthand by trying it out yourself. Where's the brush I want? Lining is a really great way to help the different areas of your model pop. While it isn't exactly fast, it makes a huge difference, and in my opinion, is always worth the time. Alright, so it's been 40 minutes. I think that it's going pretty well. I think that I'm falling into the trap of I thought I was going to be able to get a lot more done in this amount of time. And so when I'm at this point in the process, I'm a little disappointed in where I am. So the main thing I need to focus on is the face and hair. And then after that, it'll be adding in inks to make it more interesting. In the final 20 minutes of my hour, I'm focusing on the even finer details, the circlet, adding highlights to the hair, and one of my favorite last steps of using color contrast in the shadows via inks. But let's take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, Crippled God Foundry, who supplied me with Queen Margaret from their February set, Murder in the Fair. Their March release is the Enchanted Forest, which features mystical fae creatures. In this set, you'll receive 19 highly detailed miniatures such as wood elves and centaurs with weapons and head options, and a myriad of other beautiful fae creatures, including the Fae Queen and a Fae Dragon. You'll also receive Enchanted Forest flora, which can be utilized in modular terrain pieces. And all their miniatures and terrain pieces come pre-supported. If you want access to this month's set as well as future releases, check them out on Patreon. To find the set I'm painting in this video and all previous sets, check out their store on myminifactory.com. Last but not least is the color contrast. Since my cape is brown, I'm taking a blue ink and after thinning it, painting it into my shadows, pulling the color towards my highlights and then quickly blending it out by using feathering with a damp brush. It's meant to be subtle, so start slow and build up. This color contrast is going to make my miniature look far more interesting with very little extra work. And then... Oh. Crap! Ah! Oh. Dumpling. Ugh. Cardamom, do not eat trash. 60 minutes in, how do I feel? She's fine. You have to remember that I am an unbelievable perfectionist. So she's fine. She is nowhere near done on my scale. But I think for an hour, she's pretty good. However, this was an hour of me breaknecking it. Like, depending on some other models that you might be painting, if you had to do pants, shirt, vest, sword, etc., you have to consider how complicated the model is for you to make a realistic time assessment. I could have painted her with a lot more details and had it take a lot longer. I think that what I'm going to do is I am going to continue working on her just for myself, and I will go ahead and show that final footage here, as well as how much additional time I added to her, just so that both of us can get an idea of how long it takes for me to get to a final product. Of course, I'm not going to be working at that breakneck pace when I am adding in these final touches and really bringing her to the scale that I want her to be, but it will still be interesting to see what it looked like after an hour and what it looked like when I actually called it done. If you like what I do here, the best way that you can support me is by joining me over on Patreon. On Patreon, I do bi-weekly live streams, you can get private lessons, or you can get weekly email feedback from me on a single miniature. You can also join my growing and vibrant community. Otherwise, please feel free to take on this challenge yourself and go ahead and post it on Instagram and tag me in it so I can see what you're working on. I hope that you are having a wonderful day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.